Hello, my name is Dmog, and this is the progress we made in my stream on Twitch yesterday. So what we have here is a clock and a single 8-bit register with tri-state outputs. I also explained a little about the bus logic in the stream, but I'm going to be going in a little more depth this video. I'm also going to be showcasing what we worked on in this video, how it works, why it works. So let's start with the clock, why don't we? First I'll show how it works, then I'll get into why it works. So we have two modes, automatic and manual. In automatic clock mode, the clock automatically goes at a fixed rate. I don't have it so that it can go at a different rate. I don't particularly need it to. This is the fastest that the clock can go with the redstone that I'm using, due to these instant repeaters, as you can see. Any faster and they would leave their blocks. There's also, if I go and switch it into down, that is manual mode. With manual mode, you give a button press and it sends a signal. Simple as that. As you'll notice, it is quite delayed, but that's okay since the only delay is within the clock itself. After the clock gets out, I try and minimize delay as much as possible while still being reasonable. Now, there's also halt. Whenever halt is on, no signals will make it out of the clock. Even in automatic mode, no signals make it out of the clock. Now, let's view some of the redstone. When I have it in automatic mode, this is off. There's an AND gate right here for manual mode. So whenever you press this button, it turns off one side of the AND gate. And whenever you have this switch down, it turns off the other side. So only when this switch is down and this button has been pressed does this AND gate activate, which sends a signal up here, over here, through this halt. Whenever this halt is in, it blocks off all signal leaving. When the halt's not on, signal is free to go through here. What this does is makes it so that any pulse that's shorter than the pulse that these need gets completely ignored. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let me show you. So, if you give a pulse of a regular signal, you saw it turn on. Now, due to this turns off. And this has to have enough, so when this turns on, turns this torch off. This repeater would have been on, and now it has to have enough time to turn off before this redstone torch turns on. So once this is off, turns this torch on, which sends a signal out. Now, if the signal is a short signal, it'll turn off this light, or it may not even turn off the light if it's short enough. But if it is enough to turn off the light, it'll turn off the light, but it won't have enough time for this repeater to turn off. So the signal will go off and the light will come back on, and then the repeater will stay on, never turning this torch on, which never gives out a signal. Now we have our automatic mode, which is just a simple repeater clock here set to max tick, going into another AND gate. And I know I'm making these AND gates look weird, but it's all the same concept. Two torches going into a piece of redstone that is over a torch that is the output. And this output also just goes on through here. But you see, this one's a little special. It's double inverted. Basically just to save space. I can just hook this redstone up, I guess. And to be honest, that'll probably make it faster. Might as well go ahead and do it. Not hurting anybody. Since it's a double inverter, it's the exact same as whatever signal is coming out. Or whatever signal is going in, that is. Now, as you can see, whenever this clock goes and reaches this side, it turns off the torch of the AND gate, and this one's an inverted for the AND gate, since this one is not. So it can only have one or the other, and flipping the switch will switch between them. And when this is on, this torch is off, and no signal gets sent through. But when I go and turn this off, it allows this torch to go and send an oscillating signal, which goes and sends that signal out through here and off to all the clock inputs, which we're going to go over now. So we have our clock running, and as you can see, they're all running at the same time, and I'll give further proof once I explain the registers. Now the registers have an out, a load, and 8 different levers, each going to its own 1-bit register. So what the registers are is this. They're a D latch with load input. Whenever load is on and your input is on, then you pulse the clock, load turns off, input turns off. You don't really need to pulse the clock. I'm a little tired. I just woke up, so I don't really remember what the clock is doing right now. But whenever you have your load on and then your input on and the load turns off, I know that it stores the value in the register. Load, it stores the value. Pretty sure the clock will also store the value. Yes, the clock also stores the value. So no matter what this is doing, even if the load is on, it won't change. And what these are, basically 8 of those. It's a big tangle of wires, because I have no planning skills whatsoever. Everything's just kind of clumped together, and I will be moving this sometime. I'll just go world edit it, copy it, move it somewhere else. I think in my next stream, I might make a diagram of where I want everything in the computer so that I don't run into this mess again. Yeah, all you know is it's just 8 of these. All the loads are tied together. So if I go ahead and hit load, the load signal runs through here. It goes up to this one as well. And it goes through here and continues going through all of them underneath this dangerously close redstone. And it goes into every single of the 8 registers. Now, if I go ahead and load in a value, I put these signs according to the values, like the value of each register if you were to put them in binary. So let's load in, say, a 17. Basically just a 16 and a 1. Now, let me go ahead, turn this into manual. Oh, this is supposed to be a button. Pulse the clock. And, as you can see, there are no lights on. But that's good, because of this tri-state logic. What the tri-state logic does is, whatever signal is going through here, it can move freely. But when the tri-state logic activates, it is disconnected. Now in Minecraft you don't really have disconnected. Disconnected would basically be the same thing as off, but in electrical engineering it's different. You can't have that off is an actual valid thing. You won't be able to run on through an off wire, basically. I know that I'm butchering the vocabulary, but like, give me a break. All right, I'm still tired. But in Minecraft, disconnect is basically the same thing as off. It just would mean, like, I guess signal wouldn't flow backwards. That'd be the main difference. But yeah, this is good because when we go and I'll explain the bus later. But when we go and output to the bus, the tri-state logic will make it so that only one thing will output at a time. If I go ahead and turn the output on, should get a nice crisp 17 showing on the lights there. And that's saved because, oh wait, yes, those are saved in there. You can see they're stored in these registers. I don't have the levers on anymore, yet it's still showing the signal. Let me go ahead and load in a 0. And the registers are cleared. So what this out does is it just ties over here. I have it set to an invert so that the out is turned on to output. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's your computer. You can have it whatever way you want. You're building it however you want. But these tri-states basically just go and activate a piston, which blocks off signal. And of course there's instant repeaters in this tangle of stuff so that it gets all the way to the end. Now, it's time to explain where each of the signals from the registers are going. So, each one of these is 2 signals. For example, this one goes up here, narrowly dodges this, and then goes down here for this AND gate, while this one makes a steep climb up here, up to this AND gate, and some more cursed dodging over to here, and then it gets easier as you go here, but you do need instant repeaters so that you can extend the signal. And then last but not least, we get our final gate over there. And if I go switch this back into automatic, as you'll notice, the clock goes and activates this latch right here. Now we can tell if all the clocks are in sync if you see that bar showing up on all the clocks at the same time. Don't forget to look down there too, look over there. Go ahead, pause the video, take your time. You'll notice all of them are activating at the exact same time due to our nifty instant repeaters. Now it's alright, like I said, if things are delayed going into stuff, as long as all the clocks activate at the exact same time, so as long as they all have the exact same delay, it'll be as if there's no delay. Well, I mean, for the computer at least. And as I start making more stuff, I may realize that these this logic is taking too much time. It's going over the clock pulse every time. Like, it's not able to do it in between the clock pulses. So I can go ahead and just actually go and make this a proper clock that you can change the timing with just by making a hopper clock. But I'm not doing that right now because I'm lazy. Now, for bus logic. Now, I said that I only want one thing outputting to the bus at the same time. Why? Well, to explain that, I'm going to explain what the bus is first. Bus is basically a bunch of wires running down the computer, and it's a main hub. It gets information from one side of the computer to the other. You even have this in your computer. I don't know where it is in your computer. I can't see your computer. You should hope that I can't see your computer because that'd be scary. Totally not in the windows outside. But, like, it should have a bus. Your phone, most likely, also has a bus. Now, what this bus is basically just wires going down the computer. And then you hook all your components that you want to send or receive information into these wires. Just comes off like right there, you know. It's not pretty, but like you get the point. It all hooks up into these wires. But the thing is, these are just wires. So when something activates it, it's activated for everything. When something deactivates it, it's deactivated for everything. Now, say I put this out on, and we had our 17. Well, that'd be about like 1, 2, 4, 8, 6. That would look like this. These middle wires have to be off, and the first and fifth wire would be on. But, so these are off, and that has to be on, but those have to be on. Right now, if you were to put this into a decoder, it would read a 17. But let's say you have your 17 outputting from that register, but you want to go ahead and output a 4 from a different register. Well, if you go ahead and output that 4 now, we're no longer getting a 17. All right? We're going and getting, what's this, a 21? Now, if a decoder reads this, it's just reading 21, not a 17 and a 4. That means you can only have one thing on the bus at a time. If multiple things go on, the signal becomes all distorted and it just mixes together. That's why we have these tri-state logic. This can make it so you can control the output that goes onto the bus. Basically, these tri-states will all hook up into the bus, and you turn one on at a time, and that signal will output onto the bus one at a time. You'll also have these load inputs, for example, that make it so that it doesn't read the information just yet. Like, if I go ahead and put signal through here, okay, that's great, it's getting signal, yay. Yeah, no, not really. Okay, that's off, but you still need the load. It's not activating this gate, so it's not storing any information. But the moment you go and put a load in there, now it's storing that signal. So everything's going to have its outputs and its inputs hooked up to the bus. And that might seem like, well, why would you hook the outputs to the inputs? But then again, your output and input aren't going to be on at the same time. You turn one on or the other. If somewhere else is outputting, like say this is register A, and I have another register over there called register B, and I have register B outputting onto this bus, I can have register A input. I can press load on register A and out on register B, and now the information in register B, all the value, will now go into register A. Now register A equals register B. That'll be very useful for moving information around. Also on the bus is going to be the instructions, which will go into the instruction decoder, which we'll get into later. But that is how the bus will work when I eventually do make it and actually get myself organized for once. Alright, well that should be good for this explanation. If there are any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll be happy to answer you. I'll do my best to explain. And again, I'm following Ben Eater, his series over 8-bit computer for this. So go ahead and check him out. He'll be in the description. And maybe if you're interested, go watch some other videos that will be coming out in the future over this. Go on, come join me for the final product. I'll be amazed if it actually works. And it'll most likely be tested first on stream. So if you haven't checked me out on stream on Twitch and you would like to watch the live building of this, pretty sure it was a 2-hour stream when I went and built all this and worked my way through how everything's gonna work. But if you would like to see that, I'll also leave a link to my Twitch in the description. And thank you for watching. It was DMog, and this is the end, if you couldn't tell. Bye.